Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Hope you all are doing well out there in Cougar Nation. Just another plug for you guys. If you've not done so already, to join the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. Get the inside scoop on all things BYU that I'm hearing every single day coming to your phone in the form of a text message. Don't get much more intimate than that. The best part is it's just $5 a month to be a part of the group. And if you want to join today, you still get a 14-day free trial to get the inside scoop for a full 2 weeks before you're charged literally a dime. So join us today on the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. The way to join it, link is in the show notes below, whether you're watching this on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Click it, join up today, and be a part of the Insiders Group. All right, before we go on today's show, earlier this week, Jared Calhoun, the head coach of the Utah State Aggies, who is currently in the middle of a negotiation to stay put in Logan, and obviously, he understands that NIL, that's the way of the world. It's going to be the future, and it already is the future in college sports. But the more money you can get, the better. And he's talking about needing in the low 1 to 3 million range in his mind to put together a roster at Utah State. And he had an offhand comment, and I'm not going to try and quote it directly because I'm just going to summarize it, essentially saying that from his understanding, and you can say understanding, I think he has some knowledge based on people he's talking to in college coaching circles, that BYU has one of the biggest NIL budgets in the entire sport. Sweet. I love it. We heard from that, was it Lillian Quist, I think was the booster who told Myron Medcalf from ESPN, quote, "We will not be outbid," or whatever that quote was in that article that Myron Medcalf did that alleged, or at least reported, that BYU is paying AJ DeBonsa $8.5 million to come and play at BYU next year. Sweet. If these coaches, guys like Jared Calhoun, are saying that BYU's got the deepest pockets in the NIL sphere, I'm all for it, because all that means is BYU is going to be more in the mix for top-tier talent for the foreseeable future, folks. Hallelujah. BYU is actually in the game. Now, the other thing is the NCAA literally yesterday got rid of a stipulation that players, it's already happening, but they no longer are not allowed to negotiate their NIL contracts with the college teams before enrolling at the university. We all know that every university was already doing this. It was very public with AJ DeBonsa and Ace, his father. Ace essentially went around to the different schools and said, "Hey, here's what we're looking for." And the school said, "This is the amount of money we're offering." And they essentially asked for the same amount of money and then weighed their options. And AJ ultimately landed on BYU. It's awesome. That means BYU can compete with the best financially. And if Jared Calhoun believes that, great. I had a conversation with an individual this week about the NIL situation at Utah under Alex Jensen. Alex Jensen made it explicitly clear, from what I understand, at Utah that he needs as deep of pockets as he can get in the NIL sphere. There were strong rumors out there that the NIL fund for Utah basketball this past season was somewhere in the $1.5 to $2 million range, as I understand it. What I was told is that they told Alex Jensen they would get him somewhere between 3 and 4 times that amount. So in theory, somewhere $7 to $8 million. Sweet. Great. Congratulations, Utah. You got to $8 million. BYU's paying one player next year $8.5 million. I'm not trying to come off as a smug you-know-what when it comes to this. I'm trying to celebrate the fact that people are so worried about BYU that it's literally causing conversations and it's causing negotiations between coaches and universities inside this state that their fan bases would have you believe they're not worried about BYU at all. It's awesome. This is the way that BYU is going to stay atop where they're at right now. Can they top it even further? TBD. You're bringing in the number 1 recruit in college basketball next year. And a lot of you say, well, they're doing this in basketball. Why aren't they doing this in football? They are doing it in football. Now, there was that hit piece by the Salt Lake Tribune that came out not that long ago. The more I kind of dig into that, I really do think it was a hit piece. I think it was 2 discontent players who don't have the knowledge, I think, or the expertise to speak on what they were speaking on. But that's beside the point. BYU has got NIL funds, and they have a bevy of them. Boosters have lined up in droves to help BYU out. The Royal Blue announced that they have somewhere in the 3 dozen range of top-tier boosters. I think it was when they announced the AJ DeBonsa deal, is they have at least 30 on tap. It's awesome. BYU has engaged their top-tier boosters to come in and contribute to NIL, and that's going to be a differentiator for BYU. You may not like it. You may think it's seedy. You may think it's shady. You may think it's ruining the sports you love, college basketball and college football in particular, you may think it's like the end of times for college sports. And quite literally, it's becoming professional sports. We all know that. It's changing literally day by day in front of our eyes into a professional model. But BYU's in it to win it. And I, for one, I can celebrate that fact. The BYU Cougars, who for so long crowed about the fact that we do more with less. Trust me, you talk to coaches on Lavelle Edwards' staff from the 70s and 80s, and they would annually meet up with administrators at BYU and like, hey, we'd love to give you more, but this is all we've got. And they stayed at BYU out of sense of loyalty to Lavelle. It wasn't awful money. They loved being with a winning program, but they weren't making top tier money. Guys like Norm Chow, et cetera. Norm ended up making a lot more money when he finally left BYU, obviously at North Carolina State, his epic run at USC, in the NFL, UCLA. He made I would say, a whole lot more money in 2 or 3 of those stops than he ever made in his 20 plus years at BYU. You know what? Times have changed. BYU has embraced the model that college sports and top tier college athletics entails now. And that is you have to have NIL. They are going to be distributing $20.5 million at least this year as a part of a revenue share plan. And BYU is fully on board with that. Athletes at Brigham Young University are going to be multimillionaires in certain sports before their college careers are over. Great. So be it. So long as they perform, BYU boosters will keep lining up to pay an NIL. They'll continue to distribute those revenue share options, the contracts with the players. They will do all this because, simply put, BYU finally is embracing what BYU athletics, at least from my vantage point, is supposed to be, and that is to be the front porch of the university. A lot of people watch BYU sports. They watch them play in the Alamo Bowl, for example. There'll be thousands, if not millions, watching BYU play in March Madness tomorrow. Well, guess what? That may spur some of them who are maybe a little curious. Okay, what's BYU all about? And they do a Google search and they learn a little bit more about BYU and, by extension, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is the missionary tool that BYU, the church, everybody wants it to be. And yes, it requires millions upon millions of cold, hard cash. So be it. That is this day and age of college athletics. And I, for one, I can celebrate the fact that BYU is absolutely all in on this. And hey, if Jared Calhoun says BYU's got a whole lot of money, he's talking to people on the inside. He's talking to these coaches, and that rumor mill, it doesn't come from anywhere. Utah, they had to double and quadruple their NIL budget, and it still is nowhere near what BYU is paying one top-tier athlete next year. I like it. I like the fact that BYU is flexing some muscle, showing what they're capable of, and here's to hoping that it all pays off in the form of wins, because obviously that is the thing that will have people ready to rock and roll. We saw that story from the Tribune. It involves Ben Kim. He said, I don't want to pay for losers. I want winners. Well, guess what? When you go 5-7, yeah, people are going to back out. But when you go 11-2, those same boosters come right back in the door and say, hey, I want back in on those NIL funds. So I think it's cool to see this. And if these coaches are that fearful or at least that wary of BYU, good. I love it. More of it, please, because I want to see BYU win, and I want to see them win big. All right, that's going to do it. A big thank you, as always, for you guys' support of the podcast. Let's get ready. March Madness tomorrow. We'll do a full preview of what to expect from BYU and VCU. We'll obviously have a postcast shortly after that game goes final, and fingers crossed we're celebrating a win all along the way. But as always, thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day, and thank you once again for being locked on, being everydayers, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.